Welcome, welcome.
Good to see you again, sir.
It's good to be
You
here,
all right?
sir. It's good to be here.
All right.
All you.
All right, very good. Hello, everybody. My name is Jose Puzo. I'm born and raised here in New York. I'm the founder of Prestige Pavers. I happen to be an MWB firm. I'm a two-partner company with 8 unionized employees. We're proud Hispanic-owned, and we specialize in concrete, asphalt, utility work, and structural bridge repairs. The playground you saw just around the corner is Poor Richard's Playground. It's beloved by the community here in East Harlem. Poor Richards has something for everyone with its swings, playground equipment, basketball courts, and other sports courts also, such as handball courts. In the middle of a busy area in East Harlem, the community appreciates this playground and sees it as a safe asylum for the youth of today to enjoy their afternoons. I've been passionate about parks since I was a kid. As someone with over 19 years experience in the construction industry, with big and small projects, I wanted to be part of Poor Richards and helping it with its rebirth. When I learned that Parks Department had plans to reconstruct the 2nd Avenue entrance, I was interested in being, well, I just repeated this, as part of the project manager. As you can see by the rendering over here, that is the new seating area that we are working on and hope to have finished, and will have finished by the end of the summer. This is an important contract for my company. It's over $1 million, which is going to help my business grow.
Amen.
Earlier in my career, I worked for other construction companies, and I realized a long time ago that I wanted to be a business owner. I had the experience and determination to open my own company. From the beginning, I wanted to be recognized as an MWB firm. With the help of the mayor and his MWB programs, I was able to get my foot in the door. As a graduate engineer, I always thought that you had to be a millionaire in order to open up your own business, or born into a business in order to be an owner. But because of this MWB program that the mayor has, with a couple of dollars and sweat equity, I was able to get my foot in the door. And in about 7 years' time, I'm very proud to say that I have a staff of 8 people, 8 families that depend on us. And with every year that this program has been alive, we've been growing the company, and it's been getting larger and larger. I'm excited to be here with other business owners who understand the big difference in being a certified MWBE. It makes you stronger. It helps you compete in the city. Now I want to introduce our mayor. He has helped expand opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses citywide. The mayor of the city of New York, Mr. Bill de Blasio.
Jose, I just want to say I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of you for taking your vision and your hope and running with it. Because what you said, and we talked outside as well, right, where you're doing this important work, you know, that you started out assuming that the doors would be closed, that, you know, you had to already have access to the industry to be able to build this kind of business. And I don't blame you for that assumption. I think there's a lot of evidence out there that backs it up. The senator's having trouble with technology right now. I would suggest the overall, just turn off the entire apparatus. He's my old friend. He doesn't take offense. So you thought, like I think a lot of people think,
Yes.
that the doors of opportunity have been closed for a long time. And let's just say it up front. The doors of opportunity have been closed in this city and this nation because of structural racism, because of structural sexism. People, the most talented people, the hardest working people, did not have opportunity, were never given a chance. The game was rigged. So what we're talking about today is how to create real fairness. And you're seeing the living embodiment of it here in Jose. From Astoria, Queens, didn't know if there would be a chance to build his own business, saw that the government was trying to give him a chance at fairness and opportunity, took that chance, built that business, keeps building that business, employing people from the community. And there's one other thing you left out, Jose. What happened to one of your employees who had a lot of promise and ability? What happened to that guy?
I made him my partner. He's a minority shareholder. Wow.
So we have to understand this is a form of redistribution that we need. Let's be clear. No one should be scared of the word redistribution. That's also a way of saying fairness. In the end, Jose got an opportunity. Jose created jobs. He's what we call a job creator. He's a job creator because he had that helping hand. Then he turns and gives one of his employees a chance to now be a business owner. That individual is now going to have a chance to create jobs for other people. It's a very virtuous situation, but it would never have been possible if the government didn't say we're going to right some of the wrongs of the past and open those doors. So that's what we're celebrating here today, and we want to see a whole lot more New Yorkers benefit. But we cannot do it alone in the city of New York. We need the state to support us. We need the state to give us the power to reach many more New Yorkers who are looking for the same kind of opportunity that Jose has benefited from. And that's why we are pushing today for changes at the state level that will help us empower small businesses and help them grow rapidly and employ people from the community. We see tremendous opportunity if we can just get some of the tools we need from the state of New York. You're going to hear from some of our leaders of the state legislature and the city council. We're going to talk about their role in this, which is crucial. But today is a call for fairness and justice and asking our friends of the state government to give us a helping hand so we can give others a helping hand. I want to thank all the members of my administration. This is a labor of love for them. I can guarantee that. You'll hear from the deputy mayor in a moment, but I also want to thank for their great, great work and their leadership. A special thank you to our senior advisor for MWBEs, Janelle Doris, who's doing an outstanding job. And I know our Parks Commissioner is proud today, seeing the good work happening outside. Our Parks Commissioner, Mitch Silver, thank you. He's a great leader. He's almost as tall as me. Our Small Business Services Commissioner, Greg Bishop, thank you. He's younger, he's more handsome, but he's not as tall, I don't think. Maybe we should do an official measurement. And also from the Mayor's Office of Contract Services, the General Counsel, Victor Olds, thank you for your great work as well. So what history doesn't teach us enough? Who built New York City? Well, a lot of people built New York City who, I'm happy to say, did get opportunity thereafter. And folks from the community that I come from, that my ancestors come from, the Italian-American community, came here, worked hard starting over a century ago, and got opportunity. And that is good, and that is just, and other communities of European heritage did as well. But all the communities of color that helped build New York City did not get their fair share. Women who helped build New York City did not get their fair share. We have to just say that out loud. We can't be scared to say that out loud. In fact, it's something really healthy to just talk about it and act on it. So it's always true that government frames the entire reality. Don't kid yourself. I've been talking here and everywhere about the fact that working people are not doing well enough because of government policies that help the 1%, didn't help working people. Well, the same can be true, it can be said about the reality for women and people of color. Government policies did not favor them. Government policies held them back. What do? Put those government policies in the opposite direction, put them in the direction of helping uplift people of color and women and giving them the economic opportunity they were deprived for generations.
I like it.
What I love about MWBEs, because you just see it happens absolutely organically. You take the tools of the free enterprise system and you direct them in the favor of justice. And what ends up happening is, guess what? Women hire more women. People of color hire more people of color. They don't discriminate against their own communities. They want to see people have an opportunity like they had. And it's a very virtuous dynamic that grows and grows and grows. So now it's time for the state to help us go farther. We are asking the state to give us the kind of rights that we deserve to really, really help more and more MWBEs. We're calling upon the state to allow us to award more and more contracts by allowing us to go from a $150,000 limit to a $1 million limit, so we can reach so many more. And this means that small business owners will spend a lot less time filling out paperwork and a lot more time growing their businesses and creating jobs. So as our economy will grow, that's good for the whole state. That's good for the whole state. We're asking for something that's about justice, but I guarantee you it's going to make our economy stronger. It's going to create more jobs, more revenue, good for the city, good for the state. We are working very, very quickly to change the reality when it comes to support for MWBEs. We set a very clear goal that 30% of the value of all city contracts will go to MWBEs by 2021. Last year alone, without this new rule in place, we awarded $3.7 billion in contracts to MWBEs. That's billion with a B. That is what we call real money. But we could go a lot farther if we had the state legislation to give us much more freedom and flexibility to really advance the work of justice. So this could supercharge our efforts. But to pass it in Albany, we will need the strong, energetic efforts of everyone in this room who cares about economic justice. So I have a simple question. Who's with me? Woo! Sorry, I can't hear you. Who's with me? I have said we will be the fairest big city in America. There's nothing more fair than putting money in the hands of communities who for so long didn't get their chance. Now they will. Now they will. Few words in Spanish. Seguimos luchando cada día para que Nueva York sea la ciudad grande más justa del país. Queremos que el Estado nos permita otorgar contratos pequeños de más valor a las empresas de mujeres y minorías. Ese es un gran paso para asegurar que sigamos siendo la tierra de la oportunidad para todos los neoyorquinos. With that, I want to turn to someone who, this is a passion. If ever I've seen someone with a passion, this is a passion for our deputy mayor, and I met him almost 30 years ago. We were both working for Mayor Dinkins, and the hair color's a little different, but the passion is exactly the same, and he believes that government can be a strong, powerful force for economic justice, and he's leading the way as our deputy mayor. Deputy Mayor Phil Thompson.
Thank you. So I'm just really excited and proud to be here right now, sitting beside this mayor, whose determination to fight for economic and racial justice is what makes this possible, and what makes New York City right now the nation's leader in growing and supporting MWBEs. I was talking to one of the business owners behind me who does work all over the country, and she said New York is the best place for a minority and women-owned business in America. Philadelphia is trying to catch up, but New York is well ahead, and that's because of this mayor. I also know for sure that our state senator and our assembly member here today are going to carry the torch and be successful in Albany, because they are committed and passionate, and we love each other. Yeah. We love each other, and it's been great working with them. When I grew up in Philadelphia, my family had 14 businesses, small businesses. My grandmother had an insurance company. My grandparents had businesses. Because back then, that's how black folks survived. There weren't all these programs. Everybody was in business. When integration came, insurance companies deliberately came in and wiped out the black insurance companies, wiped out a lot of the black businesses. Even black funeral parlors are 70% wiped out, bought up by conglomerates, and that was deliberate. And there was no MWBE program back then to make an even playing field or make a fair playing field for these businesses like my grandparents' businesses back then. So this isn't the first time. It's not that people of color have never tried to form businesses, haven't worked at it. There have been obstacles after obstacles put in the way. So this is about creating real opportunity, not for a handful of people, not for a minority. Even though we call it MWBE, 85% of New Yorkers are women or people of color. So this is an 85% program to make sure that the vast majority of people have opportunities to create their own businesses and do work with the city. So it's lifting everybody up, just as the mayor said. And just as Jose said earlier, MWBEs create opportunities for other people because they know what it's like to struggle. They take chances on people because people take chances on them. And this is how we deal with at-risk young people, chronic unemployment, and so forth. Growing MWBEs is part of how we lift up the entire city. The other thing I want to say is that the Department of Education is included in this proposal and initiative. And that opens up tens of billions more of opportunity for MWBE. So we're just excited to be here. And I want to say again, the staff who's worked on this, Janelle, Christine, many other people in this room, SBS, everyone's been working really hard. And we have a great bunch of small businesses here, and the growth potential is enormous. So thank you very much.
Amen. So I'm going to turn to our elected officials with real thanks up front, because every one of them fights really, really hard for economic fairness and fights really, really hard for the empowerment of MWBEs. Each one of them has a sterling track record on this issue, and now they're going to get a chance to take it to the next level. The first to introduce is a friend of many years. We were in the city council together. He is a visionary leader in all areas but telephone communications.
Nicely done.
Yes, State Senator James Sanders, Jr.
How do you top the mayor? You can't. Mr. Brother Mayor, I'm really pleased to be here, our deputy mayor, to all of our colleagues in government. It's good to be here. This is a good day. Anytime that you fight for justice is a good day. Brother Jose, you spoke of this park that you're designing, and you said it's Poor Richard's Park. Yes. Playground, I stand corrected. Now, you may have known that Poor Richard is a pseudonym for Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin said many different things. Among them, he said, we need to hang together or we're going to hang separately.
Yes.
And that is the situation of MWBEs, my friends, where all of these divisions of the past need to be put to the side, where we can start working on age-old American problems and really do some things. And if you can't do it in the Big Apple, if you can't do it in the great state of New York, where can we possibly do these things? Now, yours has been an interesting charge, Mr. Mayor, where you are saying to my colleagues in government, many of that you see over here, some of the best leaders that you have here, that we need to take this baton and we need to go running. And I believe that we're going to accept it. Yes. I believe that we're going to take this. Many of us believe that New York City has received a short shift in days gone by, that arguments over personality have been more important than principles. Arguments over do we like this one or don't like that one have clouded the judgment of many when it came to New York. This is a new state senate, sir.
Yes.
And this state senate doesn't take that position. This state senate is very much in the business of correcting age-old problems sooner rather than later. So when we have people like Jose, when we have people like all of the people on both sides of this table gathering together, then we understand that, as the African saying goes, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. So to conclude, sir, I do understand that justice delayed is justice denied. And we have been denied justice a great deal, and not in this Senate. You're going to see a more welcome mat. They may have shown you different doors in the days gone by, but there's going to be a welcome mat for New York City and other places. So I just wanted to come, and I'm glad that my partner in government, Brother Benjamin here, gave me a passport so I could find my way to Manhattan. He did not. Carnegie had my phone last, and I suspect that that he did something to my phone.
Wait a minute.
That couldn't have been me, sir.
Senator, since you have affronted my fellow Brooklynite, I want to say what Carnegie knows about technology in his little pinky is more than you know.
That is obvious, sir. That speaks for itself.
I have never seen Carnegie do something without the iPad attached to him, so he's the tech guy right there.
Well, I will yield under those conditions, seeing myself outvoted clearly, and certainly the height between us is I can't reach. So having said that, I'm here to say, with the Commissioner Silver as a witness among others, that we are going to do different in the state Senate this time around, in Albany this time around. New York City will not be shafted as it has been in days gone by. We're going to see some justice in our lifetime.
Amen.
In this budget.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did not give you the fullness of your title. I just want to make sure the record shows that, again, the senator is the chair of the State Senate Task Force on MWBEs, and now his companion from the other chamber, the chair of the Assembly Subcommittee on MWBEs, an outstanding fighter. And I want to thank you for the successes you have achieved, which means so much to your city. And thank you, Assemblymember Rodneyce Bichot.
Thank you so much. I like to call the Assembly the People's House. To the mayor, thank you so much for having this press conference, to our colleagues in government, for being here, our commissioners, our deputy mayor, and certainly our living testimony, Jose. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You know, it's hard to follow a man of words and poetry, okay? He knows all the greatest quotes and, full of wisdom, historical wisdom. But I want to say that I do want to agree that today is a great day. Today is a great day. We have been fighting the notion of economic justice for many, many years. There's been disparities in all parts of our lives. We are in a city that reflects, as you heard Deputy Mayor Thompson said, over 85% of minority and women, and yet we're still struggling with crumbs. The little crumbs that we're asking for, they're always challenging us in the courts. In every aspect of our lives, whether it's education, whether it's contracts, whether it's health care, you're always going to find opposition. We don't want to share. We don't want equity. Many of you know the Supreme Court ruling around Richmond, Croson versus Richmond. You know Adirondack versus DOT. And it doesn't only exist in contracts and in money. It also happens in education. The famous Supreme Court ruling, Bakke versus University of California. People tend to see that our programs are a handout and not fulfilling and remedying the issues of discrimination and racism and excluding us for many, many years, women and minority. And so we come today with challenges that we'll deal with when it comes to economic development, job creations, of a thriving economic community. We have challenges. And the challenges didn't start here in this administration. This challenge of injustice, economic injustice, has been going on for so many years. And I want to thank Mayor de Blasio for making this a priority. How many mayors have made this a priority? Having to open the first office of mayor of MWBE, having press conferences, working with the state and city elected officials, producing local laws and champion what we can change up in the state. I'm really proud. And I'm really proud of this administration. Yes, I would say that we have a long way to go, but you know what? New York City is the model. New York City has been the model. And currently, on the state level, we are actually looking at a lot of New York City's best practices. Certification has been a big issue on the state of New York. It takes nearly 2 years. Mm-hmm. New York City, maybe up to 3 months.
Yeah. 6 weeks. Greg's like, wait, Rodney's Greg's upset with you.
6 to 8 weeks.
Hold on. You now that you called out his agency. Commissioner Bishop, how long does it take?
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Cutting it down every time we speak.
But what's good about what Commissioner Commissioner. You're Commissioner.
Yeah, he just said Commissioner.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Bishop, yeah. Okay, Bishop, okay.
I think sitting next to Sanders is messing you up.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Commissioner Bishop, and what he has rolled out, partnering with MWBEs, chambers of commerce, subcontractors that can partner with having a speedy and efficient certification process. That's an example of what we're trying to do in the state of New York. When we talk about the increase of the discretionary spend, that is something that we've been working for a long time with the mayor and his team. We were able to roll out the $150,000 increase of discretionary. It was $20,000 to $35,000 in discretionary spending. Now it's $150,000, and as you know, that's not enough. Right. And as we were talking, Sanders and I had introduced 3 bills working with the mayor's office to increase the discretionary, not only for Department of Education, school construction and school construction authority, but all the agencies. Ours was just a little bit lower. So to you, Mr. Mayor, and everybody else, I just want to say that I too would join my colleague in grabbing the baton and charging forward. We have a big year ahead of us. People are talking about the Article 15A. People are saying, leave it in the budget. Leaving it in the budget will be a disservice because things like what we're talking about now will not be in the budget and it will be completely diluted. So we're asking each and every one of you to support what we're doing on the state and support the mayor. We are looking to have a success year of a more robust Article 15A, a more robust local law, MWBE program, and we want to implement New York City models across the state. I think New York City is the only one in the whole entire state that has a MWBE program. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you again for having me and having this discussion so that the whole city of New York and the whole world know that we're continuing to fight for economic justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, next senator has done extraordinary work. We've worked very closely on a number of areas, but we all have to love his new title and the majority. He is chair of the Committee on Revenue and Budget. This is the guy you want to know, everybody. State Senator Brian Benjamin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to agree with my colleagues. This is a great day and a great moment. Let me say, I sit here and I'm struck by the fact that I'm spending time thinking about what I did before being a senator. Before being a New York State senator, I was a partner at a minority and women-owned business that was certified to do development in the city and state of New York. And I can tell you that doing RFPs, I don't know how many folks in the room who don't have small businesses or haven't been part of a small business understand how much work and effort it takes into doing an RFP, and especially when you're a small business, who's doing the RFP? The principals, all right? Because you don't have the resources to hire a staffer just to do RFPs. And so when you are doing RFPs, you got to say to yourself, do we have the time? Do we have the capacity to focus on this RFP? And so I will say to you, Mr. Mayor, taking the discretionary spend from $150,000 to $1 million will make a real difference for a lot of minority and women-owned businesses, and you deserve credit for that. When I was at Genesis and we used to do the building of affordable housing, we also made it our purpose to hire minority and women-owned businesses who were architects, who were lawyers, who were engineers, who did the bond financing. I mean, that was a purpose that we took. And not only that, at that time, wanted to make sure that you hired young men and women from the community who might have had a criminal record, who might have made some mistakes, because you understand that it's only for the grace of God that you were sitting in the shoes that you were sitting in, and you wanted to make sure that opportunities were made for everybody. So the mindset of the lion's share of minority and women-owned businesses is a different mindset because of a different experience. And so we have got to focus on this. I am going to be doing all I can to work with Assemblymember Bashad and Senator Sanders to make the case to my fellow colleagues for this. But we're going to need your help. Isn't that right? That's right. We're going to need you to put on your walking shoes and come up to Albany and to work with us to help explain to our members this is not a giveaway program. This is a legitimate program that is helping to change real lives in minority and women-owned communities, which is where we represent. I normally don't make it a point to leave my district to come to a press conference, Mr. Mayor, because I don't particularly need to be in press conferences. But this one is so important because of what it means for our people. And I want to make sure that I say to all of you here, we have got to use this level of urgency that we feel in this room right now to take this across the finish line. I've been to many meetings where people have lofty ideas and we don't execute the goal. Mm-hmm. The only way we're going to execute this goal is together, and I look forward to working with you and with everyone here to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker, there's many good things I could say about him, including his excellent capacity with technology. That's the good news. Unfortunately, I have to say he's in a moment of difficulty and stress right now, and I want to, on behalf of the people in New York City, offer my formal statement expressing solidarity with the St. John's University community. Sorry it didn't work out. But there will be another day, Robert.
Always next year.
There will be another day. Chair of the Council Task Force on MWBEs, Councilmember Robert Cornegy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So this is a great coordination of effort between the mayor's office, who has clearly led on this. I've been around long enough to have hoped for and wished that these initiatives would take place, and to watch them actually be implemented, to me, gives me a great sense of pride. I was sitting here hoping that I wouldn't go last, and then I thought, on behalf of Janelle Doris about the great passage in Matthew that says the last will be first. So I'm good. But I have a very unique perspective. In the last session, I was the chair of small business, and in this session, I chair the Committee on Housing and Buildings. And the intersection of those two for NWBEs is critical. So having had the opportunity to chair both of those gives me a very unique perspective, and I'm excited about those around the table and those behind me and what can happen. MWE, and here's what I know. MWBEs serve as indispensable contributors to our economic vitality. Increasing the discretionary limit for contracts granted to MWBEs would mean a step towards strengthening that vitality, creating a more inclusive economy and taking full advantage of the entrepreneurship in our shared communities. We need to build on our track record of lifting up MWBEs, break down barriers to MWBE success, and increase this discretionary spending limit. We stand united in calling for this reform today because our ambitious goals for MWBE success in New York only have real meaning when they deliver results. Contracts signed, businesses grown, and employees hired. Step by step, colleagues in state and city government must continue building up measures to ensure government acts as a constructive partner in advancing shared prosperity for all New Yorkers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, we are now going to take media questions on the MWBE issues, on the proposal in Albany and all MWBE issues, and then we're going to open up to questions on any other topics on MWBE issues. Media questions. Jill.
Why roll this out now? We're getting pretty close to the state budget. Seems like there's a lot going on in Albany right now, and a lot of haggling over last-minute things that might go in that budget. Why not push this earlier?
We think this is the right timing to prepare for the remainder of the legislative session after the budget. Strongly believe at this moment this is something that will be decided between now and June 30. And as you know about the Albany session, seems like June 30 is when a whole lot of things happen. Do not see this in the budget, although if that door opened up, I'm sure everyone would jump very quickly. But legislation will be filed Monday. It will be available for immediate action if that is in the offing, but I think the much greater likelihood and the timing that we're reflecting is the notion that we're seeking a vote by June 30. Gloria.
Some folks here from the Senate speak to the level of support that this proposal has at this point. Where is it in the Assembly? Where is it in the Senate? And how confident are you that it will get included, considering the...
I think they really do want to speak to that.
We're not known for our shyness. First things first, it must be remembered that this is not our great-granddaddy's Senate anymore.
Amen.
That this is a whole different place with a whole different dynamic. I agree with the mayor that these ideas that he is presenting would be best done after the budget. We need to have adequate time to win over people, to see where we can do. But I can assure you that in the Senate, we are anxious and we want to do everything we can to make this a greater America, a place that all of us can be. Like Langston Hughes said it best. He said, we want America to be America for everybody.
Beautiful.
I also just want to... Yeah.
Amen. That's worth
Amen.
clapping
Amen.
for.
Yeah. I just want to say that on the Assembly side, Speaker Carl Hastie has been truly supportive. And one of the reasons why we're not putting any type of MWBE, even extender, in the budget is so that we can come out even greater. We don't want any watered-down version. We want to make sure that all why we're here today is the results that we'll get by end of June, by the end of session.
Real quick, our majority leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, has been very supportive of MWBE over the past, and to Senator Sanders' point, we'll have those conversations. I think the concern that you need to talk about is where the executive would be on this, and I think that's more of an issue, but I believe in the Senate, our majority leader has been very supportive of MWBE in the past.
With the governor, you, Mr. Mayor, or any of the others, have you had a conversation with him or gotten a commitment from him?
I have not, but I will be having a conversation directly with the governor, and my team will be speaking to his team as well.
Conversation is ongoing.
And I would say, you know what, this could be an opportunity for the governor to steal the great idea of what the city is proposing to do it on the state as well.
Opportunity abounds. Back there, yes.
I have two questions. The first is that last week, Comptroller Scott Stringer called for the creation of.
Actually, can I just ask you to stand because I'm having trouble, or if people could part. Oh, there you go, Dave. Okay, thank you. Part the waters.
Last week, Scott Stringer called for the creation of a chief diversity officer in every city agency and one reporting to you. Where do these plans stand? Do you support that call? Would this chief diversity officer also help maybe push for this legislation?
This is a question, with all due respect to the comptroller, this is not a new idea. It's an idea that was talked about intensely in the 2013 campaign. I remember a forum, I think it was at NYU, where all of us talked about our different vision. And I said, I think the most powerful version of a chief diversity officer model is to take one of the leading figures in the administration who's a central decision maker and give them that role too, rather than having someone separated from the sort of core of everything else we're doing with a separate portfolio. So Deputy Mayor Thompson and his team play that role. They play it with intensity, which is why you see the numbers rising steadily on MWB contracting, which is why you see, for example, amongst the executive positions of the administration, and we count something in the neighborhood of 1,000 positions as the senior administration positions. There's over 50% women. As you see, very strong representation of people of color in key leadership roles across the administration. So I think the current approach is a very aggressive, effective way. We'll always look at ways we can improve it, but I think this model is the way to get it done. Okay, any other questions, MWB related or on this proposal from the media? Going once, back there. Okay, we will go to other questions. Yes?
How do you respond to the new Quinnipiac poll that says 41% of New Yorkers can't afford to live here?
We're having an affordability crisis. I've been talking about this constantly. We have an affordability crisis here, and it's affecting a huge number of people in this city. We have to address it with every conceivable tool. So, for example, we had 2 rent freezes in the last 5 years, unprecedented in the history of New York City. We're giving free lawyers to stop illegal evictions, unprecedented in the history of New York City. Affordable housing plan, creating and preserving 300,000 affordable apartments that weren't there before. 700,000 people will benefit. We're going to strengthen rent laws. I think people can confirm that in Albany this year, we're going to strengthen the rent laws for over 2 million people. These are all part of it, but it is a crisis. And let's be clear, we, and with deep respect to our state colleagues, we're fighting this crisis alone in New York City. There's almost no state assistance coming to us to address it. There's almost no new federal assistance coming right now. If we had that kind of assistance, we could do so much more. We could reach tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers and help them to live here. But with every tool New York City's got, we're focused every day on trying to help New Yorkers stay in their own city.
Would you consider another rent freeze?
The Rent Guidelines Board, which I appoint, will look at any and all options, but it is based on the specific facts each year. So obviously, a rent freeze is on the table, any numerical decision is on the table. The difference now than everyone who came before me for the last 50 years is we put it on the table as an option every single year. Dave.
Mayor, since you spoke well on congestion pricing earlier when we were on the subway ride with you.
You liked that I didn't fall over while speaking. That was my achievement for the day.
We ask our friends from Albany. It sounds as if congestion pricing right now is kind of maybe in some trouble. Could you tell us where it stands and is it likely to pass or not?
I wouldn't call it trouble. I think that in Albany we're doing due diligence on these issues. Like everyone, we have to get this one right. We have to make sure it's sustainable, and we have to make sure that that we have funding streams. These are not easy questions. These are questions that need to be looked at, and at the same time, we have great leadership. Our leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, is a very deliberative woman, and we're in good hands.
As a follow-up to Dave's question, Senator Sanders, if the vote on congestion pricing were right now, are you a yes or a no?
I am adamantly on that issue. And you can quote me.
Senator, Assemblymember, you want to join in?
Assemblymember Shaw is guiding the mic. Look, we have been, as in general, supportive of congestion pricing. I personally support congestion pricing, to answer your question specifically. But our conference is supportive of congestion pricing, and I think Andrea Stewart-Cousins has been clear about that. So that's where we are. I can speak to the Assembly.
In the Assembly, we have different views. We have different parts of New York City where people and constituents are concerned. I know in my district, people are concerned about the congestion pricing, how could it impact and develop the tales of two boroughs where, economically a group of people being able to travel freely into Manhattan and others are not. But, it's a greater issue. I think we all want our subways to be fixed, okay? I think we all want alternative ways of getting from one end of the city to the other, getting to our schools, getting to our jobs. And as our Senator Sanders had mentioned, we are just kind of deliberating and finding alternative ways. Congestion pricing is not the only way that we can find a way to change behavior or even fund MTA.
Yes or no?
Are you a yes or no vote?
Right now, I'm going to go with my constituents, and right now we're not in favor of congestion pricing in its form as it is today, but we are certainly for fixing the issue of our roads and streets being overpopulated, and fixing the subway. Our subways need to be fixed. And so we need to find ways, alternative funding. There's the millionaire's tax. That's one way we can go about funding our broken subway systems. And you have to understand, everyone, New York City, the outer boroughs, has been ignored for a very long time, okay? Low-income, people of color have been dealing with our public systems for many, many years, 30, 40 years. Completely ignored. We on the state level has been funding MTA, billions and billions of dollars of capital. Fares has been increased. In many cases in my district, we had workers' jobs been taken away, or subway station workers have been closed down. So again, my constituents are asking, if we are increasing the fares, where is it going? Where is it going? How come we've been yelling for years, 30, 40 years, to fix our MTA and nothing has been done? And now people are looking to tax people who are mostly vulnerable. So there's a lot of issues. Again, we all want the same thing. We want to move New York City more efficiently and more expediently, but not at the cost of our working families.
Sorry, I have to jump in as the chair of Budget and Revenue, as was this mentioned earlier. Congestion pricing, we're looking at $1 billion of revenue that will generate something about $15 billion of bonded financing that can be used to deal with what I understand to be at least a $40 to $60 billion MTA capital need. And the millionaires, the ultra millionaires tax, is not something that has support by the governor or from our Senate, at least not at this time. And so if we don't do congestion pricing, it's unclear to me how do we deal with some of these renovations to the MTA, and would force, as of right, it would force the need to increase the costs of subway rides. So, look, it's a tough issue. I think but I hear Assemblymember Bashad's points, but I don't know how we get there without.
Assemblymember, let me jump in for a moment. Hold on one second, because I want to speak to this too, and we'll come right back to you. What you're hearing here, in my view, is a reflection of the urgency. So you have different views, which is a thing we call democracy. But I can say from my repeated conversations with the governor, the Assembly Speaker, the State Senate Majority Leader, the urgency levels are high as I've ever seen on any matter in the last 5 years. There's not a single person saying we don't have to deal with this and deal with this right now. So the mix of particular components, that's what a legislative process is for. I put forward millionaire's tax. I understood at a certain point it wasn't moving forward. I came up with an alternative with the governor, a very special action of unity, because I thought this was the best way to get something done. Other ideas are emerging. I am wonderfully agnostic on this point. I want to see a plan voted on April 1st. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's only one bottom line. We need a plan that will fund our subways by April 1st.
I agree with the mayor wholeheartedly. I just want to make one point. So the governor turned down to tax the millionaires, but okay with taxing working people. I have a problem with that.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Changing topics, Mr. Mayor, I spoke with HUD Regional Director Lynn Patton today, and she questions the sincerity that you're bringing towards fixing NYCHA. She says you're dragging your feet on picking a new chair of NYCHA, and the time is like a week away. She says she doesn't know how the city is spending $30 million a week that HUD gives it to fix repairs. And she says that when you're out of town all the time, you're not paying attention.
I'd like you to answer. False. I appreciate the opportunity to. Everything she is saying is false. Let's make it simple. False, false, false. You can quote me, Marcia. Keyword false. She is not in the discussions on the choice of the new chair. That is being done with the leadership of HUD in Washington and with the Southern District. Extraordinarily productive conversations, basically on a daily basis. We're working together. We have to decide together what we're going to do by that day. And it's going to be a joint effort all along. So, one, she doesn't have her facts on that. Two, her president, she is his political appointee, just put forward a budget that would slash funding for NYCHA, slash funding for repairs, set back all the progress that we have proposed. So let's just deal with the hypocrisy here. If you're Donald Trump's agent in New York City and you are taking money away from public housing, time to stop acting like you're here to help people in public housing. I hope that helps you. Go ahead. No, right here, right here.
Mayor, just quickly, a quick follow-up sidebar to the congestion pricing. Any system involving cashless tolling, people are going to try to get around it. You've talked about it in the past, people switching their license plates, trying to cover up things, trying to dodge it, versus the people who are doing it the right way. Can you reiterate your point that you touched on a couple minutes ago about people that may be thinking about trying to not do their part to fix it?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of enforcement going forward. You know, first of all, we've all talked about the placard issue, and technology is going to help us really, really crack down on that once and for all. But in terms of the cashless tolling, I think you see that there's been effective technology, but also enforcement. And this is something you've seen the state crossings, the state police presence, which I think sends a powerful message. I don't have a doubt in the world that we can create very strong enforcement here to make this work. Again, this is a really serious matter. And I think people are going to understand we have to save our subways. Period. We have to save our subways. And we're going to set up whatever enforcement it takes to make sure that we get the revenue necessary to do that. And it's a matter of fairness. One thing about New Yorkers, they do not like to see, they're going and paying their toll and doing what they're supposed to do, and someone else tries to cheat. New Yorkers don't take well to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, why did you schedule, or why are you spending money on a special election for Jumaane Williams' seat 5 weeks before the primaries? Why not consider a charter revision that would combine those and save money? Well, it's a very fair question. It's, I think we were in a real conundrum because the city budget is being determined exactly in that time frame. Yep. And it really came down to, I know I spoke to Speaker Johnson about this, and we both felt this was an insurmountable problem, that it's not fair to a community to not have representation in the council exactly at the time when the budget's being determined that will affect all the people of that district, including very local and specific issues. So it's a real imperfect outcome. I want to be honest with you. I don't love it, but I think it was the lesser of two evils.
Can I?
Please.
It's my district. This is my district. And there's no way we could have combined it, just simply because you would have two elections going on the same day. So people would be going to the polls, voting for a special election, and then voting for a primary. That would be completely confusing. My people in my district, that's highly immigrant population is already confused. We're already fighting the battles of poll interpreters and things of that nature. To add on the confusion would be a disenfranchise. Also, we've had special elections across the city. I think our, district deserves its, right to have a special election.
Yeah. We'll get you a cost estimate. I don't know at this point. We'll get you. Gloria.
Mr. Mayor, there's also a Q poll out today that found that the mayor, that's you.
Really? When did that happen?
Quoting here is the least.
I think you're the first person to say the mayor, that's you. That was very clarifying. Gloria, I've been wondering why people keep pointing at me and asking questions.
Need clarification. The poll found that the mayor is the least popular of all the Democrats, either in the race for the White House or, as in his case, considering getting in. So it seems like New Yorkers are really not at all interested in you running. Can you just respond?
Gloria, look, you can ask 100 versions of this question, and I'll keep giving you the same answer. Haven't ruled anything out. Whatever decision I make with my family is based on what I think is the right thing to do, what I think is the right thing to do for New Yorkers, because right now the federal situation is hurting the people of this city. I mean, I'll have this conversation anytime, anywhere. Our current national status quo is hurting New Yorkers every single day. Has to be changed. The debate in this country has to be changed. The issues that are on the agenda have to be changed. So I'm going to do what I think is right. I don't make decisions based on polls. Never have.
Mayor, a former worker at the Amazon warehouse on Staten Island has filed a labor rights complaint after being fired. The worker was part of a bid to unionize employees there. I'm curious what you make of his allegation of retaliation, but also, during the whole Amazon thing, you had said that you hoped the pro-union environment here in New York would rub off on the company. It doesn't really seem like that's happening. So
I really do believe if they had headquartered here, it would have. I think it would have become an irresistible dynamic because this is a union town. But I want to speak about the underlying issue here. Any company that represses the right of workers to organize is not only doing the moral thing, but is doing something that's going to turn a lot of people against it. And Amazon better get the memo that if you're not allowing people their democratic rights in their workplace, you're going to lose a lot of business ultimately, because a lot of people make their decisions about where to shop, how to shop, based on their values, more and more. So I don't know the specifics of this case, but I couldn't say more strongly that any company that tries to stop workers from organizing ultimately will rue the day, in my book. Do you want to say something, Deputy Mayor? I see some passion coming on.
Yeah, because we now have an Office of Worker Protection as well. But I wanted to say that in the United States, and people like Kosciuszko, the person who the bridge is named after, was a passionate advocate around this. In the United States, you can go to a temple, a synagogue, a mosque, and worship as you choose. You can join a glee club and sing any song you want to sing. And if a worker decides they want to associate with other workers to bargain together or do things together, that is their democratic right. It is fundamental. And when any boss says you can't do that, that's aristocratic talk. And the American Revolution was fought to end that kind of talk. So this isn't just an issue about Amazon. This is an issue about what's been going on in our economy, which is actually killing the rights of the people. And we're here today in that very same vein to say we got to make the economy more fair and not just go along with inequality, which is getting worse and worse and crushing people every day.
Amen. Well done. How do you really feel?
Mayor, getting back to the Quinnipiac poll, I know that you haven't made a decision yet on whether or not you're going to run for president, but you must be concerned with these scores. And do you actually even think at this point that you have the ability to win New York State based on what you're saying?
My friend, I'm always respectfully interested in how people ask variations on the same question over and over and over and over in every press conference, so let me try again. If I had believed the polls, I never would have run for public advocate. The first poll was 36-6. I remember it vividly. If I believed the polls, I never would have run for mayor. I came in 5th in the first poll, way, 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 way back. It's not where you start, it's where you end.
Amen.
Period.
Amen. Hi, your staff today confirmed that you will be speaking at the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee conference.
Yes.
That organization has come under fire and criticism from the left wing of the Democratic Party, and Move On suggested that presidential candidates, not that you're one yet, should not go and should boycott it. How do you square your position as a progressive with your alliance with this organization?
It's not an alliance to go speak at an organization. I speak to all sorts of organizations. This is a very important organization with a huge constituency, and it's important, in my view, as a progressive and a Democrat, to go there and say, we oppose anti-Semitism with every fiber of our being as progressives, as Democrats. We believe in the state of Israel. I oppose the BDS movement, and I think it's important for Democrats and progressives who oppose the BDS movement to say it out loud and be strong about it. And this is a very important gathering where that message can be heard. So, you know, I go there in that spirit, and I think progressives need to engage this conversation. Gloria.
To follow up to that, to the AIPAC meeting, and your point about progressives, it's my understanding that neither Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris are attending.
My understanding is presidential candidates, upon declaring their candidacy, are not asked to speak. Senator Schumer is speaking, as I understand it. Speaker Pelosi is speaking, but they have a blanket rule, probably because there are just so many of them, that they don't allow presidential candidates to speak. That's my understanding. Let's see if there's anything else. We got two. We'll take two. Go ahead.
On the question of sexual harassment, you said yesterday that you're reviewing this issue of the neutral references when people leave. Will you declare a moratorium? Will you tell your agencies not to enter into any of these agreements until this review is finished?
Willie, again, you're raising a very important issue, and I've said to you, and I'll say it again. We have a really imperfect dynamic here, and we know it. But until we can figure out a better approach working with experts in this field, we are staying with the current approach because it focuses on ensuring that those who are harassed or in any way abused will come forward and know they will be listened to, know they will be trusted, know that their charges will be brought forward in confidence. That'll be a confidential process. If we do not have that atmosphere of confidentiality, I think a number of people will not come forward. So that's where we believe the first imperative is, to create that environment where we get more and more people who feel like they want to come forward to know they can come forward. You're raising a very important point. We've got to figure out a way to address that point. But we're not going to stop what we're doing now, because if, God forbid, anyone is harassed or mistreated, we need them to come forward so we can act and so we can mete out consequences to the perpetrator. Go ahead. Okay, I got two more. That's it. Go ahead.
10 days until the state budget deadline. You said April 1st. You've got two people sitting right next to you who are not at yes on congestion pricing. So how worried should the Riders Alliance, should New Yorkers be, that there may not be enough votes to get?
I think this is a question of democracy, and I've been through these a lot of times, and I think it's great that you guys are asking everyone where they stand, because that's part of what will create the urgency to get to a decision. I've talked to a lot of legislators who are comfortable that there has to be a plan. I talked to a lot of legislators who are comfortable with this particular plan. So the glass half full, which I truly believe is, one, everyone's feeling urgency. Two, I have not met a single person who said this can wait, or my constituents don't care. No one's saying that. I have not met a single person with an entirely different plan. I have talked to people, and you hear it here, who say, can we switch in one component, switch out another component? That's fine with me. That's their job. But I don't think there's any lack of urgency. I feel strongly we will get to a vote April 1st, but I think the people have to speak to keep the focus and keep the urgency alive. So am I worried? No. Do I think we got a lot of work to do in the next week? Yes. And I'll be doing it myself up in Albany and working the phones, and I know a lot of advocates will be, and activists. You'll see a lot of activity in the next week. Last call.
Why do you want to spend more than $8 million on buying the votes from the East River Ferry that's already heavily subsidized with all the problems in the MTA? Why not take that money and
Again, I respect the question, but this is probably the 26th time I've been asked this question, but I am an expert at repetition. We made a decision. We made a decision. By the way, ask people in the communities that have ferry service what they think about ferry service. I mean, look at the ridership. Talk to. I'm sorry, I heard something. Could you say that again, Senator?
In my district, the Rockaways, we think it's fantastic.
But so.
Don't you think that a lot less people use that, and so in terms of spending the money.
No, I'm going to tell you. You can start, and then I'll tell you why I think that's a misunderstanding of the bigger picture.
We are just starting to go back into ferry service in New York City as a whole. Under those conditions, you have to build a program out. The waterways are an excellent way of transporting people in New York. It should be looked at.
So it'll be more than looked at. I'm going to take that and I'm going to see you and raise you. Dear friends in the media, help be visionary. Our city needs a whole lot more mass transit. It needs whole different kinds of mass transit. You're creating an either-or, respectfully. We don't need to have an either-or. What did the chair of the Committee on Revenue and Budget just say? Congestion pricing alone puts $15 billion into the MTA. We're also talking about internet, sales tax, all sorts of other pieces. We have to address the MTA as the MTA. That should not be at the exclusion of building new types of transportation, which we desperately need. The ferry service already is tremendously popular. It's serving a lot of places that are transit deserts, like the Rockaways. On top of that, we're not even yet cross-registered with the MTA. When that day comes, and it will come, that a single fare gets you ferry ride and subway ride and bus ride, you're going to see a whole new level of ridership. We need to innovate. Please.
My question isn't why do you want to have the ferry, it's why he's subsidizing it so much more than other types of
Because this is, as the senator very rightfully said, we're starting a whole new form of mass transit. Anyone who wants to say don't start a whole new form of mass transit, what we got now is enough, come on into the subways with me and I will prove to you it's not enough. We need whole new forms of mass transit. We're a growing city. We're not using our waterways. It's time we did. And talk to the people who are experiencing this service. They want us to build it more and have it be a big part of our future, and that's what we're going to do. Thanks, everyone.